Hello and welcome to 10 Minute Tabletop, where we cover the biggest stories in tabletop gaming in 10 minutes or less. I'm Devin.
And I'm Darren.
And here are the biggest stories from the past week. Flea Mortals is now on D&D Beyond. Flea Mortals, created by the folks over at MCDM Studios, has now had their first third-party product on D&D Beyond. Now, what's wild about this is Matt Colville has worked for D&D before, and their Kickstarter raised over $2 million for Flea Mortals.
It has 339 stat blocks for monsters with rules for minions, companions, retainers, and more. So Flea Mortals has variants for classic monsters that are meant to build engaging encounters and allow for more combinations for play. It also contains rules for special villain actions that make a single creature capable of taking on a party of adventurers alone, which helps with the often criticized action economy of D&D 5e.
Now, why is this important? This is actually really interesting. See, if I made third-party products and I start making more money because my products are in D&D Beyond, why would I create a competing game, right? MCDM has their own high fantasy tabletop RPG coming out later this year. The MCDM RPG actually raised $4.6 million on BackerKit. That's wild. Now, here's the thing. That is a obviously competition to D&D. But you've noticed that D&D is letting Kobold Press, it's MCDM, Humblewood, all these third-party creators on the D&D Beyond platform.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you're a craft person or you're making something at home, it's kind of like selling it on Etsy. Like, yes, you could sell it on your own website and you could spend the time to get that following, whether it's on BackerKit or crowdfunding or whatever it is for the actual play analogy, or you can go somewhere where you have a large audience of people who want those kind of things.
The thing is, if D&D Beyond makes it so it's more profitable for them to continue making 5e in Dungeons & Dragons products rather than making their own RPG, that could be something we see. Yeah. At the same time, this might be fantastic for MCDM. People might find these on D&D Beyond, they love them, and then they want to check out MCDM's game.
Yeah. It's just more exposure for them as a brand in general and would entice them to keep creating content for 5e and keeping 5e relevant while also bolstering their own brand. So smart overall.
You know, and I wonder how this is going with Kobold Press because they did the same thing. Kobold Press has its own Tales of Valiant RPG system that is coming out very, very soon. But you saw Tome of Beasts make it onto D&D Beyond. And so was Kobold Press maybe going to continue making products for D&D if they can see more growth out of the D&D Beyond marketplace? And our next story, One More Multiverse closes down. The ambitious and gorgeous virtual tabletop platform One More Multiverse announced that it will shut down in the next 90 days. In a heartfelt community letter, the developers admitted that the platform was no longer sustainable.
With over 4,000 assets, One More Multiverse gave users animated pixel versions of their characters and a menagerie of iconic fantasy creatures to populate colorful settings. And they even partnered with games like Humblewood and Blades in the Dark, and users will now have 90 days to save their characters before the server shut down.
You know, and why is this important? I mean, the VTT space is obviously incredibly competitive. Yeah. And we saw, you know, in 2020, 2021, a lot of VTTs kind of come onto the scene. But this is a big hit to tech in tabletop gaming. You know, One More Multiverse raised around like $16 million in VC funding. And it is always kind of a shame when you see that fail because it's maybe going to hold back other VCs for investing in the space. And in looking at it, that it's too niche.
Yeah.
Alongside the fact that One More Multiverse was doing something that no other VTT was doing. Yeah. That was really cool, but apparently just the industry is still a little too niche to kind of support something that different.
Yeah, niche within the niche might be a little riskier of an investment than they originally thought. Bummer.
But our hearts do go out to the entire team. One More Multiverse, thank you so much for what you brought to the tabletop RPG community, and we hope you all land on your feet. We got looks at the new Player's Handbook and insights on the new Dungeons Master Guide. The classic sword and sorcery setting Greyhawk is getting more focus in the 1D&D or D&D 2024 or D&D 5.5 or whatever we're calling it. Greyhawk will feature as a sample setting in the new Dungeon Master's Guide as an example on how to develop your own campaign. This is all reported in the exclusive by Game Informer. Now, several heroes from Greyhawk will also feature in the cover of the 2024 Player's Handbook, interposed between the red and gold dragon, along with the original D&D cartoon characters showing up all over the Player's Handbook.
With that old theme song that we all know and love. Other tidbits revealed include a playable Asmar character in the player's handbook with 75 feats, 500 monsters in the monster manual, 75 of them being new, like more vampire variations, and new high CR monsters. And why is this important? Well, D&D is embracing worlds outside of the Forgotten Realms, which has been the default for 5e for the most part.
And it feels like this is a chance to expand their IP that also allows them to expand the settings in digital. If we see Greyhawk and Dragonlance begin to kind of get interest because of this relaunch, right? New people coming into the game because it's the new version of D&D. That means they might be able to do something with Dragonlance in video games, something in Greyhawk in video games. We know that they're pouring $1 billion into video games. So we might see a new setting outside of Forgotten Realms, which has kind of been the default.
Yeah, the world is growing. Our next story is Adventure Time breaks 1 million. So the official Adventure Time tabletop RPG ended its Kickstarter campaign with over $1.5 million in funding. This puts it in the ranks with Avatar, The Last Airbender, MCDM, and Tales of the Valiant. And while you can still make pledges on the Kickstarter page, the initial crowdfunding period ended by going well past its $100,000 goal. So Adventure Time, the role-playing game, became notable last year after it ditched its own yes and system for the 5e variant. And, you know, many bemoaned this decision as more evidence of D&D's like chokehold on the hobby. But there's no doubt it paid off for the Adventure Time publisher Cryptozoic, as seen by these huge numbers that it just did.
Absolutely. And it is one of those things that, you know, the reason why I think this is important is we are seeing more tabletop RPG Kickstarters hit that million mark than ever before.
Yeah.
Right? Legends of Adventurous, constantly this million plus mark. Is this just the same people backing Kickstarters over and over again?
That's a good question.
Or is it that the industry is growing and there are more people interested? Yeah. And I also believe that we're going to see Adventure Time probably show up in the D&D Beyond marketplace in the next 2 years.
You know, I'd love to hear from some people in the comments that, like, if you have contributed to Kickstarters, are you contributing over and over and over again? Or is like it just a niche one that you find and you put your heart behind?
Yeah. Do you think funded Kickstarters for tabletop RPGs is from the same people over and over again? Or do you think that the industry is growing and that's why we're seeing more of these million plus Kickstarters?
And it's just specific to that license's power, right? Is it say what, like, does it speak to how big Avatar: The Last Airbender is, how big Adventure Time is? Because we saw this kind of with Walking Dead, but just Walking Dead didn't put the advertising behind it. Yeah. And it could have potentially done that if that been the case. Or maybe it's just those very hungry tabletop RPG people over and over again.
I know, and I know there's a lot of people out there that just continue to back stuff and then never get a chance to play it. But if you are looking to finally play those games you've kickstarted, let me go ahead and toss over to today's sponsor.
I just want to play D&D.
But have you tried Start Playing?
Oh, what's that?
That's the easiest way to find a D&D game for any tabletop RPG. All the games are run by professional dungeons and game masters. You can filter on your schedule the games you want to run, or easily find a game. The GMs even have reviews so you know that their playstyle matches yours. There's thousands of games being run with over 40,000 players already using it. And now for some quick hits. We didn't cover this because it was an off week, but D&D Beyond has removed a la carte purchases from the marketplace.
I think I know what you're talking about, but explain it to me a little bit.
So you used to be able to buy a subclass, magic item. It was like $1.99. They've since removed that functionality. Now you have to buy the entire book.
But I loved that. I love when you're building a very specific build and you're like, wait, I just needed that one storm sorcerer from like Tasha's Cauldron of everything. 100%. And you just buy it for like 99 cents. Dang, they took that away.
Now, here's the thing. I don't think that this is a decision that was made to drive up full book sales. I honestly think that this is a technical problem that they had with their marketplace to sell individual items.
I could see that, like more of like, it's just hard to keep track of those individual items that are bought than like.
Yeah. And here's the thing, I don't know what the data is on D&D Beyond. Like if someone has made like 3 individual small purchases, or how likely are they to purchase the book?
Right.
But for the most part, I don't think that those individual purchases was not profitable for them.
Yeah.
I think the real thing is there was probably something technical that made it really difficult. And by adding all these new things to the marketplace, I think they're deprecating that because of it. But I didn't see anything online about why they decided to do this.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just it's a win-win if you could just buy an individual thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Interesting. That's a really interesting theory.
Because here's the thing, if you want to buy like, one of each, it's $1.99, $2.99, it's something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like 99 cents, up to like $2.99, which I like at the end of the day, once you get to $20, it's like buy the book.
And the book was also like discounted at a certain amount too, so it's kind of like, I don't think that was a bad business model. And I think they probably would have kept it if it was profitable.
Yeah.
And I don't think they would have
Just too much of a load on the technical side of the website. I could
maybe that's I mean, from my understanding.
Yeah.
Like, that does seem like a pretty big technical issue, but it could be something else. I mean, it could be a money grab, but it feels like you were already making good money doing that.
Yeah.
So I would assume it has to be something else, but I'd love to know what you think the reason was. And if you think it's just to increase overall book sales, or if you think it was something else. And lastly, we were wrong. I was wrong about D&D's Dead by Daylight on who the survivors would be. I thought it could have been the Baldur's Gate characters, but it's revealed it's a bunch of new characters. I'm still hoping out that maybe there's going to be like the D&D cartoon characters are maybe survivors you get to play as.
I saw Vecna was on there.
Vecna is one of the monsters, but I believe in Dead by Daylight, there's going to be more than just Vecna. There's going to be several monsters. I believe that's the case. It's not incredibly clear.
Like, we have Stranger Things. Everyone knows who Vecna is now. We have to do Vecna.
We have a Demigorgon, right? That would be great. I mean, a Stranger Things Demigorgon Dead by Daylight, that could be really fun.
I mean,
too.
they're like, we got to do what people know.
But here's the thing. I want to know what you think would be a great addition monster to Dead by Daylight. Someone in the comments from last week was talking about what if it was a gelatinous cube? And here's the thing. That actually could be genius. Imagine you're in like a corridor, cavern, sewer, right? Because gelatinous cubes are hard to notice when they're not moving.
And until you're like right in front of it, and then it's just like, right? And it's kind of the closing in effect. And then
if you're the monster, you just stop and then no one can see that you're there. So someone might walk into you. I don't know. I think the gelatinous cube could be a awesome monster for Dead by Daylight. Hey, thank you so much. That's all we have for you today. If you want to support the show, head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/Total Party Chill. Or if you want to support the show in other ways, share it with your friends, your family, and your enemies. Thanks so much and have a great week. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.